Hi guys, this is my first ever video on YouTube. I am super fucking excited. If you follow me from TikTok, you know that I rave and rant about books all the time on my TikTok, post updates and post my reactions. So I was thinking that I have a lot to say about books and the books that impacted me before even I had TikTok. So today I want to talk about like few books that impacted my life and my life decisions. There's a lot of books, guys. Like I literally have like a list of books that I wrote down. But we are going to go a bit slow cuz I wanted to see like my rhythm with this whole thing. So I wanted to give you an idea of the kind of books that I love just so that you see that, if we are aligned, if we are like aligned. I'm sorry, my cat is being very distracting. She will make a lot of cameos, so you will see her. I have two and the orange one. She's a kitten and very curious and loves to show up every once in a while and throw shit. So yeah, right now she's fighting to throw this, so you know anyway. So the first book I wanted to talk to you about was Behold the Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. When I read this book, I was really young. I was like 21 years old. And when I read that, it was about a shepherd who has to leave his, in order to find a treasure, he has to leave his dwelling and he has to go for an adventure and he just follows his heart and goes through it. I don't want to give away too much of that book because I want you to read that and go through that experience. But what I'll tell you is that what I learned about that from that book is that sometimes we have to go through some shit in life in order to see what we already have could be a blessing. That's the best way I could put it. I mean, there are certain things in my life I wouldn't think of it as a blessing if I didn't go through some hardship in order to get them. I cherish them more because I know that I've been through some stuff that made me see the value in that. So that's one book that I always recommend people. It's a very small book. It's called The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. It's very popular. A lot of people read that and talk about it. And there's a reason for that because it's so simply written. It's so beautifully written. So many times you're like, just give up already. Just live your life. But yeah, I think that book still stays with me. So I highly recommend if you're looking for a book that would give you some kind of direction or, kind of impact you in some way. The second book, it's not any book like Alchemist. It's actually The Haunting of the Hill House by Shirley Jackson. And I read this book after watching the Netflix show, and I love the Netflix show like crazy. I think the adaptation, if you don't think about it from like book perspective, like what they did to the book, I think by itself it was a you know, beautiful show by itself, horror, and it was tragic. It wasn't just horror, right? The book, on the other hand, it's basically it's how do I explain it? He does like an experiment, right? There's like four participants, and they are invited to this haunted house by a professor to do some kind of experiment. And one of the girl that we follow, I forgot the protagonist's name, but she goes through a lot in her life with her mom and stuff, and she wants an escape, and this is a good money, so she drives up there, even though like all the village people were like, no, don't go. She was like, how bad can life be? I already love this place. And then slowly you realize that the character loses her mind, and it's beautifully done. It's so well done. Nami, could you not? Anyway, it's beautifully done in such a way that you yourself witness the character losing their mind. I don't want to say who the character is, but yeah, I even like the ending. A lot of people didn't like the ending, but I think that was satisfactory. I think with her story, it just went really well, and I'm very satisfied with it. So I would say anybody who's like looking for some gothic book, which kind of on par with The Shining, where you lose your mind and stuff, this is such a good book. And again, it's not such a big book. It's a small book. It is written in a very normal English, not like, you need the unabridged version or bridged version of it. But yeah, I highly recommend that. Then comes Throne of Glass. Throne of Glass, I'm actually very new to it because I read it last year, the whole series, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think mostly what I enjoyed about this was the community, because I started posting on TikTok, and it's just like everyone's experience was like so, like, it was fun. It was like you reading with your friends. We follow this girl who happens to be an assassin, and the royalty prince kind of like chooses her um to become their champion. And that's all I'm gonna say, because this is literally a journey of I want to say 17-year-old girl, but I think she's older by the time she gets out, and she's an assassin. So, yeah, what I loved about it was mostly the friendship and the growth, and the characters are not like good or bad. It's like there are characters that you think would be a good character. Like, for example, Kale. Kale feels like a really good character, but he's like this hero who always does right by everybody. Like he believes in what's just and what isn't, but you end up hating that guy because it's like it's a bit complex, because you kind of see the assassin side of the story, and you see everyone's side of the story because it's multiple POV as well. And it's fun because I think a lot of people argue about the characters, how each character impacted them, and how people see each characters, because they're not like black and white characters. They're pretty fun to like talk about, bring a different side of the story to this entire mission, and everyone has a part in it. It's just so beautifully done. I think the main message would be like, small acts of kindness sometimes can lead to like big victory. And I would ride or die for Aileen. I just loved it because most of the time you read characters like that and it's a male protagonist, right? And this time you kind of follow a girl, like a little girl's journey. Not really a little girl. I'm 34, so maybe that's why it seems like a little girl's journey. But what she went through is not a little girl's journey. But yeah, I also read Harry Potter. um I'm just saying it in the same vicinity of the things because of the similar type of books, right? I also read Harry Potter. I grew up with those movies, right? It was beautiful watching Harry Potter movies. So every Christmas it was all about like, Harry Potter and all that. But I think the first two movies is what I would watch usually, but this time I got to read all the books and I fucking loved it. Oh my god, I think this is one of the best books that I like, book series I've read, along with like Throne of Glass, because it's like, you follow like a friend group with the same journey. And Harry Potter will always be Harry Potter. It was just so quirky, everything, like, the magical world of Hogwarts. And yeah, it was a journey. I loved it because as I grew up with it, there's so much more information you read and you go through. You see Harry's perspective much more clearly in the books, and the fact that he was hating Snape the entire time, and I was like, but I know why, because now I know what happened. So yeah, I highly recommend, if you're looking for a book where, multiple POV or like multiple people coming together for a bigger cause, and it's fun to read, like friends, and there's like one chosen one, but you go through it. The characters go through steps for them to become who they become. So I think like those two series will always stay with me. And I feel like if you're looking for a long series of books where you can really like love the characters and be with the characters, these two books, I highly recommend that. The other book that I read last year was Dark Matter. Oh my god, did I just forget who wrote this? Anyway, I'll obviously put it up here. But Dark Matter, how do I say it? Oh, this is a scientist who is moderately okay with his life. He has a beautiful wife and he has a beautiful son. And he, like, he's having dinner and he's just kind of wondering, like, how my life would have been if, I followed my career more than like my love life. La di da di da. And then he goes to meet this friend who actually went and did his research and got, you know, amazing praise for it. And while he's on his back, like, while he's back from that pub, he's meeting his wife again. He gets kidnapped and he's thrown into another dimension. Okay. So the whole thing becomes about him finding his way back. And I would tell you that this is a romance sci-fi, but a lot of people are gonna nag me on it. This is the thing. I don't see how it's not romance when this guy, this scientist, wants to, like, he explored entire fucking universe, so many timelines, just to be with his wife. And you know how many wives he has encountered? A lot of it. Okay, because there's only like little thing that would change something in their lives, and it would be a whole other different story. Okay, um, he wanted his wife from that exact timeline. That's all I'm gonna say, and that's his journey throughout the entire thing. So yeah, I would I would say, if you're ever going through that dilemma where you're like, I wish I did this in my other life. I did this and that. This is the book you pick up just to like get some clarification and like clarity, and appreciate your life more here, I guess. Or dream about a life that is another in another dimension, I suppose. So yeah, that was another book. And uh, when I read that, I thought about the Midnight Library that I put here by Matt Haig. I could be saying his last name wrong, but oh my god, Midnight Library. I think I read that right after I finished like Ekotar. I was just going through like a whole heaps of feelings where I'm like, I don't know, I'm not really so happy with everything, how my life is going. And then I read Midnight Library, and it kind of changed my perspective. Then I went online, and a lot of people were like, oh, like, just because like a lot of people can't change their perspective on depression and they go through it, this book doesn't preach that. And I'm like, no, reading is subjective, really. Like, you got what you got out of it. But I understood, because I remember being depressed and not being able to have any feelings. I wasn't sad, I wasn't happy, I just didn't feel anything. And I would do anything to feel. I would just smoke up and I would just eat brownies and McDonald's just to like feel something. And I was gaining weight like crazy. And I had to change my entire environment in order to get out, to see how my life could have changed. Like, I felt like I had no way out, and that was it. But I was really wrong. I was so, so wrong. So, reading this book, we follow this girl who's going through depression, right? Who thinks that in her life she made a lot of choices that led her here. And she wishes, what if some choices she made were different? So, she kind of attempts to like unalive herself, and ends up in a library where she can see what big decisions she wanted to make. If she did those, how would her life change? And she started doing that. And then she started seeing, like, every time she made a decision, there's always going to be something that will make her upset. It's not about life itself, it's about being content with what you have and having a different perspective to look at things. And I think that is profound in its own fucking way. And unless somebody goes through it and comes out of it and has a similar experience where you can see like how everything is all based on perspective and what you're living right now, mindset and all that, it's just, it takes that level to understand it. And I also understand other people when they go like, oh, like, you think that depression is that easy, you can just change your perspective and everything is la di da. I mean, if it was that easy, why didn't we do it? And I get that. If I were, when I was depressed and you came and told me about this, oh, just change your perspective, like, fuck you. What are you talking about? You think I didn't try that? But I think someone who read the, like, went through it, came out of it, and understand like perspective, you worked hard on that perspective, then yes, you would love this book. And I fucking hated this book. I ate this book, not hated this book, but I loved it. um the other book, oh man, there's a lot of books to go through, so I think I'm gonna go through like probably, let's see, The Great Gatsby is when I read that when I was again 21, I think. I didn't understand the depth of it as much at that time, because I was like, why why would Daisy Buchanan not like this guy, right? And then you kind of understand, like, as you grow up, you understand the complexity of it, and you see Daisy as like this manipulative, I hate that bitch. but I loved Gatsby and the narrator. I forgot the name of the narrator actually, but I loved his perspective, how he looked at, um, how he was perceiving Gatsby, right? His their friendship and all. That's what stayed with me, and to witness his life at the end, like how he died, even like, did I give you guys spoilers? It should be in your school reading, but you don't know who died. I didn't say that, so take that. Anyway, I love this book, and I think anybody who's looking for like a beautiful classic where you want to hate some people, yeah, this would be it. um, the other book, The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. I don't know who wrote it, but I'm gonna put it up there. I read that again when I was really, really young. I was like 18. I didn't understand the depth of the Holocaust and everything that happened. I come from Bangladesh. It's a very small country beside India. And yes, we go through history and stuff, but the depth of the Holocaust and everything that has happened, and to like put yourself in a situation what they went through, it was crazy. So this book was written by a like from a boy's perspective whose parents are from the Nazi, right? And and this boy can't even pronounce the word Auschwitz. Like it took me a while to understand what he was trying to say. It was so fucking beautifully written because you are looking at the world through a child's eyes, and you know exactly what they are going through, what questions they're asking, but you also know they're gonna have to figure it out because it's a kid. And oh my gosh, guys, the ending, I don't want to give it away, but yeah. I want to finish this video with a good note, because how many books have I mentioned? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. Okay, 9, 10. Let's do 10. Okay. So the boy, oh no, so the girl who fell beneath the sea was another one, which was like, I think that was my first Asian mythology, like Chinese mythology, and it was so lyrically written. If you like a fairy tale esque, but you want to change from Western world to another, this would be the perfect way to go, because oh my god, it's written from a girl's perspective. It's basically like she takes place of another girl who was supposed to be sacrificed to the sea, and she replaces this girl, and the sea takes her beneath, right? And there's a whole new world, and she's trying to get out of it. It is romance, it is YA, and it's so beautiful. I loved it so much that I downloaded a lot of like other mythology book from like Chinese mythology, Japanese, like all that, because I'm like, this was beautiful. The dragons in this are different than the ones that I'm accustomed to. So yeah. Okay, so the last book that I'm going to talk about in this video would be a book that wrecked me. Okay, it's called the Traveling Cat Chronicles, and it's written from a cat's perspective. Yes, you heard me right. It's a cat's perspective book. The cat is found injured, I think underneath the car of a man who always takes care of her, and she was so badly injured that he just takes full care of her at that time, and they just like kind of live with each other. And I don't want to say too much, but I was reading this book while I was working, and I kid you not, I was bawling my eyes out. And then our client calls. I'm like, "Hello." It was so bad. Hello, how are you doing? I hope you're okay. It was so, never again am I reading another book while I'm working. It was a dead day. I just thought I could pass, but I couldn't. So yeah, if you're reading a book and if you're going through like some kind of grief, don't read this. Maybe read this after you're done grieving for a little bit. But yeah, those are like 10 books that I would say for now. This is just part one because your girlie has a lot of books that impacted her life. But yeah, those are the books that impacted my life in the first part of it. I hope you read them, and I hope they also impacted your life in some way. And if you haven't, and if any of the books you want to pick up, after watching this video, please let me know. I want to know your journey.